I have waited so long to say these next words, but I'm going to finally get a chance to say them. He is the UFC welterweight champion of the world, Belal Muhammad. Belal, I know you never get tired of hearing that, right?
Feels so good. I've been hearing it for the last week. The whole UFC staff when I was in Abu Dhabi, what's up, champ, champ, hey, champ, champ, champ. I was like, bro, stop calling me that. They're like, no, we're gonna keep calling you that. So yeah, it's cool to just like hear it. Finally, it's like it's the truth. It's true, right?
Absolutely. Has it sunk in? I mean, in a way, like, because I texted you right after the fight just to tell you congratulations, and I was like, because then obviously you've been on kind of a whirlwind. You were in London for a few days, then you go over to Abu Dhabi for a few days. Now you're finally getting back home. Like, in a way, I'm kind of glad we're talking like a week after, because it's all like, has it really sunk in now that like this is all real?
Man, honestly, it hasn't yet. Like he Woodley like messaged me and he was like, do you feel different? And I was like, bro, not like I haven't had the time to like sit in and let it settle in, because like I've been like on the road the whole time nonstop. And finally I get home yesterday, like to celebrate with my mom and my family, but there's 50 other people there to like be a part of the celebration, and everybody will like, there's cameras and stuff. So there hasn't just been like a chill moment. I'm hoping like these next couple of days, they'll just be like me and my belt just chilling.
Yeah, I know you told me this before the fight, and I'm sure you're going to stand up to it now, because I know, when they say like when you become a champion, everything changes. Now, I feel like I know you well enough to say like you were always like, I'm not going to change who I am, who I am. But you did say, when you win the belt, all the people are going to come out of the woodwork saying, oh, we were there from the beginning and we knew you'd win. You said you were going to keep receipts. Listen, I'm not going to say I pick every fight right, because I certainly don't. But I'm proud to say I was on the Belal Muhammad train a long time ago.
And that's why I'm like, all these people want interviews now. I'm like, nah, I'm going to stick with my true ones, right? My day ones, the guys that always believed in me, that pushed for me, even when I was trying to get the title shot, right? There's not a lot of people out there that were having my back on that. So it's cool to see now that everybody's like, oh man, maybe he is this good. He is a beast. Come on my show, man. You're a beast. I'm like, nah, I'm cool, man. I don't want to come on your show.
I love it. I love it. So, Belal, let's just backtrack, because you told me, we talked like pretty much like a couple days after the fight got announced, and you told me this is going to be one of my easiest fights ever. I'm going to dominate. I'm going to break this guy. And really, that's how the fight went. I mean, give credit to Leon for that one round. He got a reversal. Now, he didn't really do a lot with that. He had your back, but he didn't, threaten. There was no choke, no close, no really dangerous position. Again, credit to him for getting the reversal. But outside of that, it was pretty one-way traffic. I had a 49-46. I thought that was pretty clear scoring in terms of the fight. But you said it going in, but did it kind of play out the way you assumed it would outside of that one round?
Yeah, 100%. And even that one round, it was like an error on my part. It was slippery, and I just like went over the top a little bit too much. But if that wasn't the case, I think he would have broke even sooner. But yeah, I told everybody what I was going to do. I said he was going to be the easiest fight for me. And I said, stylistically, there's nobody in here that I fear. There's nobody in here that looks at me, oh man, what about that one round you guys had, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm so glad I was able to prove it, show these guys. And even with that first takedown, when I got it so easily, I wanted to be like, in that first round when I fought him, I didn't shoot once. I didn't even attempt any wrestling on my end. So I wanted to show you guys what would have happened in that first fight, how it would have happened. So that was my motivation the whole time. And to see his team and his coach talking all that trash and saying that, oh, we're going to outstrike him, he's a sniper, we're going to outbox him, his coach saying the dumbest stuff, and then having to give that motivational speech that did absolutely nothing. And it got Leon mad, and it caused turmoil in their corner. Well, me and my corner is just chilling, being calm, cool, and collected. It felt good, right? It felt like I told you so.
I knew you could out wrestle him, because you've out wrestled pretty much everyone you've ever fought. But again, I think one of the things you showed in that fight was your striking. Once again, people underrating your striking, kind of like going in the Sean Brady fight. Oh, he's a grappler. He's not gonna be able to do anything else. Go out there and knock him out. You won the striking exchanges. And, like, there was not, like, again, outside of that one round, which again was just a reversal and he was on your back, there was no striking. The striking exchanges, you beat him, which was, that to me is like the most remarkable part of that fight, because beyond anything else we say about Leon Edwards, we can say like he is a competent striker. That's what he's known for. You beat him in the striking. That again, I expected you to out wrestle him. I picked you to win the fight, but even that was like, wow. Like, that was super impressive to see you go out there and outstrike Leon Edwards on the feet, because I think that was one thing nobody saw coming.
Yeah, well, I tell you guys, man, my main training partner is Ignacio Belal. I think he's the best striker in the UFC. When you guys see, once he starts putting what he does in the practice room into the cage, you guys are going to see how good this kid is. And he was my main guy sparring, being the Leon. He was a better version of Leon than Leon was. My coach, Mike Valley's I think the best striking coach in the world. He's so good at breaking down patterns, finding things, telling me where we're going to see it. So I knew I had nothing to fear from Leon. I knew everything he was going to throw at me. I'm more afraid of sparring with Nacho than I was of fighting with Leon, because I know exactly what would happen. And when he was throwing anything at me, I knew what I was going to be capable of doing. So when people were underestimating my striking, when he was underestimating it, I was like, all right, well, you'll find out. Everybody always says that, right? They always think I'm not a good striker. Then after the Luque fight, man, his kicks hurt, his punches hurt. It was frustrating me. Gilbert, oh man, that hurt. This hurt. Like all these guys will say before the fight that, oh man, you can't strike. Then after the fight, you see it on their faces. You see it from their body language when they're in the cage with me. They're not happy. They're not comfortable getting hit by me.
Yeah, and you said something before the fight that everyone was like, you said you want to go out there and just break him over 5 rounds, and everyone was like, why don't you want to predict a knockout or predict a submission? And you said, I want to break this guy, I want to leave no doubt. And I've said this to people before, a knockout's great, we all love a finish, but you can't sit there and say after the fact, well, he caught me, or oh man, I made a mistake and he caught me in an arm triangle. Like you beat him round after round after you gave him every chance. He had to every round start striking. Every round he had that chance, and then by the 5th round, obviously it was over. And I know, listen, this is the sport. It's unfortunate. And to his credit, like Leon, I know Leon had said something like he felt tired or whatever, but he gave you your flowers for that. But his coach was the one who came out again, not Leon. His coach said like, oh, he had an injury or whatever. Did you just kind of expect that? Like, it's just like almost like you have to see this coming now when people try to take away a victory, because to me, there's no taking away. You beat him in the striking, you beat him in the grappling, and you beat him over 5 rounds. There's no mistake here. There was no like fluke here.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was just I was dominating him in all aspects of MMA. And like you said, when I'm dominating him for 5 rounds, then it gets to the championship rounds, I dominate him there. And if he's your coach and you guys want to come up with excuses, be on the same page at least. Like both of you guys come up with the same excuse, like, oh, it was a bad back. But when he's saying, oh man, I was tired the whole week, and then his coach coming, oh, he had a bad back. Bro, you didn't say he had a bad back in the elevator when you guys were talking tough. You didn't say he had a bad back at the press conference when you said headshot dead. Get out of here. Like, I expect excuses, but it's funny even now because like all the people from the locals from there won, right? Like Aspinall dominated, Paddy Pimblett dominated, Mokayev won the fight. Like, so that, oh man, I didn't get enough sleep schedule. When you had this Formula One sleeping coach that you hired, right? Like we had a sound machine that we bought that we did from freaking Amazon, and we still had to figure it out. Like the hardest thing for us fight week was trying to stay up from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. so we go work out and train, and fight day. Like I couldn't nap, and I was sitting there trying to figure it out. But once you get in the cage, nothing else matters. Like there's nobody in there for you. And I said, you can come up with all the excuses in the world you want, but I have the belt on my shoulder now. So none of your excuses, none of your words mean anything. All these haters, trolls, none of them mean anything to me now because the gold's in Chicago, the gold's in my house. So I mean, I expect it. And I'm just so happy his coach. That's the only one I really care about. His coach was talking so tough. He was this man. He was this guy. And, he thought that speech would happen again. And he thought that would motivate him again. But no, you lost. Bad back or not, you lost.
Yeah, to that point, I know you said afterwards, which I think was one of the funniest things that happened at the post-fight press conference when they said, will you give Leon a rematch? You said, yeah, in 3 years, like he did me, which I thought that was pretty hilarious. But the reality is, like, it's like we know how hard it is to get a title shot. We know how hard it is to become champion. We know how hard it is to defend that title. In a realistic world, do you actually think you'll ever see Leon again? Like, do you think he has it in him to earn that shot back? Like, does he have it in him to go beat, I don't know, I'm just, if you're fighting Shavkat or fighting Ian Gary or fighting whoever, do you believe he has the ability to get back there? Or do you feel like this is maybe the last time you'll see Leon Edwards?
Skill-wise, he has the skill to do it. It's all about mentality now because you see it a lot with undefeated guys. When they get that one loss, a lot of guys don't know how to take a loss. And he hasn't lost in, 8 years? And he had this long streak. So it comes now from how does he come back from it mentally? Physically, yeah, he has all the attributes, the skills to do it. And when you're looking at the lineup now, it's like I beat a lot of these guys in the top 10 already. So there's not a lot of guys that you're looking at like, oh, this is a clear number one contender. This guy's clear number one contender. So Leon could go out there and get one win. And if it's a huge win, there's a possibility that, he could get his name back in the mix. But it just all comes back mentally. I don't know if him and his coach are going to have a breakup party now because they look pretty bad in the corner, right? There's a lot of turmoil there. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of blame and a lot of embarrassment coming from that team and a lot of just embarrassment from himself, right? Like that was your home soil. That crowd was there for you. That the fight was tailor-made for you. You were supposed to walk through me. You said it was going to be easy and you got walked through. So now it's like, that's embarrassing. So he has to figure out what he wants to do with his life. And if he still wants to, chase it with that hungerness inside him.
Yeah. Now we live in a world now, Belal, where social media is so big, but we also live in a day and age now where fighters now everybody has a YouTube channel. Everyone is a fight breakdown. Everyone's doing fight breakdowns. Everyone's doing predictions. Michael Bisping does them. Daniel Cormier does them. All these guys do them. And listen, I understand it's a business. You got to do that. But I've always said this from the beginning: words matter. Whether you like it or not, words matter. And as the kids say, you kept receipts, and you knew the guys who picked you, the guys who backed you, the guys who didn't. Obviously, we know a little bit of a dust up with Alexander Volkanovski, a little bit with Demetrius Johnson, but in reality, I'm sure there's no personal, bad blood there necessarily, because I know, Alex was firing back, and I'm like, dude, I think Alex Volkanovski is incredible. I think he's one of the best featherweights of all time. But he's a featherweight. Just take ownership of what you said. That's all I'm saying. Because that's the downside. When you're going to make these bold predictions, say he's going to get smashed or he's going to get beat or whatever they say. You kept receipts, and I think you get the right now to say kind of what you want. I that's my opinion. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm a fan of Volkanovski. Like you said, he's one of the best featherweights to ever do it. And when you're talking, when you come up with your prediction and you say it the way you said it, and you even said man, if one of these guys pull out this week, I think that I'll be a good matchup for him. All right, well now I'm going to respond. And even still with Kamaru Usman, before the fight, Leon's going to be too much for him. Leon, I couldn't take Leon down in that third fight, so Belal's for sure not going to take him down. And then after the fight, it was well, I knew that Belal was going to walk through him like that. That was the perfect thing. And it's bro, take ownership of what you said. You didn't say that before the fight, so don't sit there and try to act like, oh man, I did say that after the fight. So it's funny because these so-called experts and these fighters, they had the worst predictions that I've ever heard. And I made them look dumb, and I'm happy that I made them all look dumb.
Did anyone reach out and say, you know what, man, I was wrong. I made the wrong call? Because I hope someone at least admitted, I've done that. I said this, I talked to Tom Aspinall last week, and I said, I wasn't going to pick Curtis Blaydes to win. I said, I still had John Jones ranked number one at heavyweight. And I said, you know what, man, I can't deny it anymore. You go out there and do what you do to Curtis Blaydes. I got to put you number one. I raised him in my rankings, and I said, listen, I love John Jones, but you've been having more active, bigger wins. I said, I'll take the loss. I'll take the loss. I had you ranked below John. Now I do not. I fixed the error of my ways. Has anyone reached out and said, hey man, we got it wrong. You had me. Did anyone reach out and say, any fight or anybody say that to you?
No, man, because none of these guys got heart, man. None of these guys have that inside of them. They're all just they're all trying to stay quiet now. I still got to go search and find them, but yeah, it's just funny because they're giving you'll see all the people that were all team Leon. Now they're all oh yeah, Leon didn't look the same on fight week, man. He did look kind of tired. I noticed that, when he did that flinch at the press conference, that it wasn't that good of a flinch just because he seemed out of it lackadaisical. I'm bro, everybody's trying to find every excuse in the book now to find Leon instead of just giving me my flowers and just saying that I'm the best in the world.
Yeah, it's wild. It makes no sense. Now, that being said, for the last whatever it's been, 3 years, 4 years you've been on this streak. You've been the hunter. You've been hunting for this title, and I think a lot of people would argue my side. I've said this to you personally. I thought you should have got a title shot, a year and a half ago. You should have got a title shot before Colby got the title shot. Is what it is. You got it. You're now the champion. And so the mentality changes. You go from being the hunter to the hunted. And of course, now everyone's coming out of the woodworks. Of course, Shavkat said it. Usman said it. Everyone's coming out of the woodworks. Is it fun now to now that you are the champion, you really don't have to call it anybody. Everyone has to call you out. You don't have to hunt for these guys. You don't say, hey man, give me this fight. Why is this guy getting the shot? Why is this? You're the guy with the belt now. Now everyone wants to fight you.
That's the best part about the whole thing, right? Because on my come up, none of these guys knew my name. None of these guys want to respond to me. They're all saying every other name but my name. But now they're all saying my name. Now they're all saying like, oh, let me get that shot at him. Let me get that shot. And it's like, that's the best part about it. Now I can just sit back and be like, oh, okay, well, let me pick and choose what I want for dinner.
I love it. I love it. Now you are literally just like basically less than 2 weeks away from winning the title. But I know from talking to you beforehand, you said, hey, I want to be an active champion. I'm not going to hold up this division like a lot of guys have and sit and wait for months. I know, obviously, we know that they announced the card in Abu Dhabi with Ilya and Holloway. I had heard maybe there was even a chance you would jump on that card. So, in a real world, now that the dust has settled a little bit, you did this big media tour in Abu Dhabi and everything going on. Do you think there's a realistic world where you fight again this year, or are you looking at it and saying just because the way things are laying out, it may be next year before you fight again?
No, I mean, I'm hoping to. Literally, if it wasn't like for that last 10 seconds, I would be like injury free from besides that elbow to the nose. Hopefully I get back to training within the next couple of weeks, help Nacho get his fight in September. And then if I get on that December card, that would be perfect. But I think December, January would be on point. But yeah, I want to get back in there. Like, I'm not the type to be like, oh, let me wait a year. Let me fight next year at the we'll see, maybe July next year or something like that. Like these guys, I'm like, no, I want to be active now. Now it's like building my legacy and just building my book of names, my book to getting to that GSP book, right? Of all the guys that he's fought, all the guys that he beat. And then I want my resume to be right next to his at the end of the day.
It's funny. Everyone ran that back from our interview where you said that, like, I want to be right next to GSP. I want to be the greatest ever. And it was before the fight. And after the fight, you're kind of like brushing off your shoulders. Like, what was that? You didn't believe me? What was that?
And then right now, it's like people are looking at my resume now. They're like, wait, dang, man, he does have a pretty good resume. Look at his resume. He has Gilbert Burns, Luque, Stephen Thompson, Damian Maia. And I'm like, bro, I had that resume before beating Leon Edwards. But now that I beat Leon Edwards and I have the title, now they give respect to my resume. Now they look back at the resume and like, man, he did have a crazy run. It's wild how many names are on his win streak.
Yeah. Now, I know you said, you told me this, that, when you become champion, line them up, I'll knock them down. You're not in the business of give me the name. You're not saying like, because listen, you beating a guy like, let's say, a Colby Covington would be a bigger name, but there's no world where Colby Covington would deserve a title shot or should get a title shot. But I know you said, Shavkat, Usman. I actually said after your fight, I said, if you're not going to fight right away, I think Shavkat versus Usman is the fight to make. Because I think Shavkat is incredible. I think he's a monster, but I said this very openly. I said, I think beating Wonderboy now isn't the same as you beating Wonderboy 3 years ago. It's a slightly different win now. So I think one more was my opinion. I think Shavkat's great. Don't get me wrong. I just think that I'd like to see him get one more kind of establishing win to get that title shot. I think him and Usman would be perfect. Have them fight November, December, or maybe October, and then the winner gets the title shot. When you look at the lay of the land, you don't have to call anybody out. You don't have to mention any names, but would you like to see someone kind of clearly define themselves? Like, I'm sure you would fight Shavkat, but would it be even better if he did beat Usman or if he did beat an Ian Gary, one of those guys?
Yeah, 100%. Because like even for myself, when you look at all the names I had to go through, even after beating Wonderboy, I still had to win 4 more fights to get there, and I had to take a short notice fight against Gilbert Burns. But all right, well, you're gonna just give it to him after beating the Wonderboy fight. So like, yeah, I mean, if him and Usman fought, that would make the most sense, and the winner would for sure deserve it. But like when Leon won the title, there was a clear number 1 contender. I was a clear number 1 contender, and they still gave it to Kobe. But when I won the title, there's not really like that clear number 1 contender. Obviously, Shavkat makes the most sense just because he's undefeated. But when I look at the resume, it's not like he didn't have to go through what I had to go through to get it. But it's all up to the UFC now. I think legacy-wise, like I said before, I think Usman has the biggest name for sure. But on 3 losses, it's hard to give him the title shot. So it all just depends if the UFC wants to make that fight or if they want to just let Shavkat get the next title shot straight away. For myself, it's like I'm going to be ready for either one of these guys. There's not a guy that I look at in the division where I'm like, man, that's a tough fight, or this is going to be a difficult fight. Let me shy away from this guy. There's nobody that I shy away from.
Absolutely. So let me go down the list real quick. Give me your opinion on these guys as much as you want to. So let me just start with Shavkat. What do you think of Shavkat and how you match up with him?
Oh man, I mean he's the boogeyman, right? The guy that everybody thinks will dominate everybody. But when I look at stylistically what I'll be able to do to him and what I've seen, like I said, there's nothing that he shows me where I'm like, oh man, I got to be afraid of this or that. He's not a specialist anywhere. Obviously, a specialist in finishing, but I mean, I've only been finished once in my life.
Yeah, and then let me go down because one guy that everyone's kind of forgotten about is Jack Della Maddalena, and I know he was coming off that injury. I mean, again, he was down in the fight with Gilbert Burns, but to me, you come back and get a finish over a guy like that absolutely matters. You know how tough Gilbert is. We all know how tough Gilbert is. He's kind of like the forgotten man in all this. What do you think of Jack? He's also the quietest guy because he will never, I guarantee you, he will never say a bad word about you. He's going to say Belal's a beast to be a great fight. Like I know he's never going to be the guy to build a fight with trash talk. What do you think of Jack Della? Because he's kind of like the forgotten man. No one's really mentioning him right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I think because he has that elbow injury, but like I know that him and Shavkat were close to fighting, and that fight would have been a great fight because Jack's, I think, one of the best boxers in the UFC stylistically, and that last fight he showed that he has heart, right? He had no give up in him. It was close to being finished, and Gilbert would have won that fight, and Jack went all the way to the end. And he ended up getting the finish, so that was huge for him. And yeah, I mean, he's definitely a tough matchup stylistically for any of those other guys in the division, but for myself, like I said, I see path to beating him pretty easily. But yeah, I'm hoping that that injury gets cleared up soon and we get to see him fight somebody. Maybe you give him like either Sean Brady if Sean Brady beats Gilbert, or I mean Colby definitely won't fight him. But somebody like in that range. If they do Shavkat against Kamaru, or even if Shavkat gets next and him against Kamaru, he's like a big name, but with a streak.
Yeah. What about Kamaru? Because you mentioned and I think Kamaru would be honest enough to say all 3 losses. He's probably not going to get a title shot. Although the Colby Covington thing, apparently he can get like 19 losses and still get title shots. You never know. But I know, listen, beyond all the talk and everything, I know you guys share the same manager, and I know Usman is a very good guy. And you talk about getting your resume to where you're going to start competing with GSP as the greatest of all time. Usman's a guy you want on your resume, right? Like that's the kind of guy you want to put on there. Maybe not next, but that's a guy I imagine you would like to add to your resume.
Yeah, 100%. And especially for me, like that was the guy I was chasing for so long. He was the champion up there. And, people were saying that he was the GOAT, and he had that moment of Dana White saying he's the best welterweight to ever do it. So for Leon to take that away from me, right? And then for me to go out there and dominate Leon to do what Usman couldn't do. And then Usman say that I stole his blueprint. So for me, like to have him on my resume would be huge for legacy and, just to show the world, to show Dana White what I would have did if I got that opportunity when I should have.
What about Ian Garry? He's kind of another guy out there. He's obviously not a #1 contender quite yet, but he goes out there, beats Michael Venom Page. He's undefeated. I don't know that people have been as blown away by him as he was early in his UFC career because he's winning, but he's not knocking guys around. He's not highlighting them in any way. What do you think of Ian Garry?
Honestly, he knows how to win, right? He figures it out, and I think that's a big quality to have for you just to understand how to win and fight a certain way for every fighter. Like Michael Page is like a hard puzzle to solve. So for him, he had to fight that fight a certain way and just get it out there. And people don't understand how hard it is to stay undefeated and be undefeated in the UFC. And for him, he has a lot of pressure on himself. So I respect that. I think that he's also kind of like on that Darren Till, trajectory where people think that he's better than he is striking wise, where they think, oh man, he's this striker, this unbelievable striker. But Darren Till was never that really great striker. He had a couple of 1 or 2 good striking performances, but I don't think he's a striker. I think that Ian Garry's just a high IQ, smart fighter and figuring out and understanding distance. Him and Leon honestly would be a great fight next. I feel like that makes a lot of sense. And stylistically, I think it would end up being a good fight.
We said this before the fight, and I had to laugh because I brought up to you, when you got the title fight immediately, Connor started talking, and then Colby started talking, and we talked about it back then. But again, after the fight, listen, Colby says a lot of crazy things. We all know Colby says a lot of crazy things. But my favorite thing he said in that interview with my guys over Submission Radio, he said he never called me out, and now all these years later, I literally burst out laughing because if I could go through all the interviews we've done over the last 3 years, calling out Colby Covington and then just never hearing anything from him, you had to at least get a laugh out of that. And I I know. Listen, even Dana is now saying like Colby's not getting a shot. Like it's not going to happen. But you got to find humor in it. That like now you're the guy. You've done what he didn't do, and of course, suddenly he's talking trash.
It's funny, right? Like he's literally the biggest clown in the UFC. It's embarrassing to see like how he's like trying to grasp for any sort of attention and say anything, right? Let me catch him outside. Let's see. All right, bro. I wish I see you outside. Let's see what you would do. I've literally called him out since 2017 when I fought in Australia. Like this guy's a coward. But that's what he does. So he shot away from that Ian Gary fight. He said it wasn't worth his time. Like if he would have won that fight, his name could have been right back in the mix. So now he looks dumb. He's a clown. And I don't think, like, I'm wondering what he's going to do next. Like, there's nobody really out there that I see him saying yes to. He's going to wait and hope that Tony Ferguson comes back and fights one more fight. And then he's going to win that fight and say, oh, man, see, I deserve to be in there. Look what I just did to Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, it's like where Usman, I feel like, has that fire where I feel like he wants to get back in there. And again, to be credit, to give him full credit, like he fought Chimaev on short notice at middleweight. Like I don't really count that too far against him. But he did. Like I feel like Usman still got that in him to go out there. So I know the answer, but I'm asking the question again. Like, do you think there's ever a world where Colby could actually, let me use the word, I hate to use the word with Colby, but earn a title shot? Is there any world where you ever see that happening?
No, there's 0% chance. Like I said he sucked before the Leon Edwards fight, and he gifted him the title shot. He doesn't have there's nobody in the top 5 that he could beat. There's nobody in there that I could see him and say, oh man, all right, he beats him, that there's a chance. Like I don't see him accepting any top 5 fights, and I definitely don't see him beating any top fighters if he gets that chance.
Yeah. So now afterwards, you've had a whirlwind, week and a half after winning the title. One of my favorite moments though is last week in Abu Dhabi where you and Islam were doing the Q&A, and he said, well, man, you took away my hope of being a double champ, because you said beforehand, you said there's no world where you would fight Islam. And I know Islam kind of said something similar, but I love that moment because like I think legitimately, if he had gone out and fought Arman, I know he's dealing a little bit of injury right now. I think if he'd gone out and beat Arman, there is a world where he could have gone up and fought Leon, but obviously it's not. And I love that friendship you guys have built where he's like, damn, man, you took away my chance to be a double champ, but congratulations. I love that moment. That was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, that's my brother right there. And it's like priceless to see like how happy they were for me to win. Like when I saw him and Habib and like just seeing how happy they were, it was cool. And like even before the fight, Habib like sent me like a good luck message. So it's like, get that type of like motivation from somebody I look up to. It's like it gives you that strength because they have your back, and there's nothing fake with them. They're like the realest people I've ever met, the most genuine people I ever met. So yeah, just give me a couple more fights at 170, and then I'll go up and be double champ at 85, and I'll let Islam have the division.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I know you said, listen, you want to surpass GSP, and I think the way you do that is title defenses. No one wants to defend their title anymore. Everyone wants to just jump up divisions, and I get it. I understand it. I always joke like Conor McGregor's arrival was the best and worst thing because it's best because, like him or not, he did bring a lot of attention to the sport. The worst is because he actually got the chance to become a double champ, and now everyone wants to just like, I won one fight, let me go be double champ. I know you want to defend your belt too, though. Like I said, I mentioned all those names. Like I'm sure you want to beat Shavkat and say, listen, there's another guy I took out. You want to beat, if they deserve it, an Usman. That way you can become the greatest welterweight of all time. So I know your goal isn't to like already you're going to start calling out the winner of Drakus in Israel right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like my boy Harasi was like, Bruto, call out Drakus. I'm like, bro, chill out. Like I got a lot of work to do here, right? There's a lot of guys with O's next to their name in my division that the world probably still thinks will beat me, that I'll still probably be an underdog for. So I go out there and I beat these guys, take their O from them. I think it just keeps cementing me as the best guy.
Yeah, I listen, John Jones, I put John Jones as the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. And that was before he went to heavyweight. That's only what he did at light heavyweight. He never had to do anything else, and that's where I put him at. So again, George St. Pierre, same thing. George St. Pierre, I didn't care that he beat Michael Bisping, became middleweight champion. It matters. It's a great win, great accomplishment. But I said that about him before he did that. So going out there and defending the title, man, I think it's huge. And obviously, I know you're a guy who's not going to lose that hunger. You're not going to suddenly say, oh, I won the title, let me take a day off or let me relax a little bit. Like, I feel like you're going to be the guy who's going to be working just as hard because, winning the belt is great. Defending it might be even better. Yeah,
100%. They always say you're not champion until you defend the belt once. And yeah, like there's a lot of guys in my division. I think this division has still got hungry guys in there, and all these names. I want them all on my pedestal, right? I want them all on my resume, and I want to just keep building it and building it and building it. Where you look back at my career and you say, bro, he fought everyone. There was nobody that he did not fight in his division. There's not a welterweight out there, and a lot of these guys that I'm going to end up beating, these younger guys, are going to be guys that are going to be champions in the future, guys that are going to have their name up there with some of the best guys. So if I get them now, and when my career is all said and done, it's going to be like, dang, but he lost the bully, but he lost the bully. That bully's his one. That's what I want to be.
Yeah. Two real quick things. I'll let you go on this. Two different moments, but I know two really cool moments. One, let me mention first, your guy CM Punk shouting you out on Raw. Listen, you're going to have a lot of cool moments as champion now, but you got to admit, that was pretty awesome. Like, I watched wrestling and I was like, oh, I shouted out Belal. That was awesome.
Man, that was sick, man. Literally, seriously, I love that guy. He just such a good person, man. And for him to give me that shout out up there, it was an epic moment, dude, man. Because yeah, like you said, I used to love wrestling all the time, and I told I was supposed to go to SummerSlam. It was Cleveland. My brother was like telling me like a month in advance, like, oh, you got to take me to SummerSlam, take me to SummerSlam. And we were supposed to go, but I ended up having to go to Abu Dhabi. I was so mad. He was so mad at me. But yeah, man, CM Punk's the best.
And then, listen, we talked about this beforehand, the chance to walk out with the Palestinian flag and the inspiration you've been to the Palestinian people. I know you were fighting for a lot of reasons to win that title, but I know that was a very big one. It's been a cause incredibly close to your heart. Those are your people. And can I just ask, like, in the aftermath of the fight, I don't know who you've heard from, how you've heard from the emails, tweets, whatever it's been, but how has that been? Because I know that was something that weighed on you very heavily going into it. I asked you about being able to walk out with the Palestinian flag, you know, in that fight, in the climate we're living in right now. What has the aftermath of that been like for you?
Man, it was amazing. I think that was probably the best moment that I had from the weekend, just to be able to walk out with a flag, see so many flags in the audience to Manchester, and even having like the fans singing my song with me. And there's like a charity I work with in Chicago. It's called Pious Projects. They had like a viewing party in Palestine at like a refugee camp, and they showed me it, and it was like kids all around the TV watching it, and then like cheering afterward. It like made me cry because I was like when people look at me, they call me a hero for them, and I was like, they're the real heroes. They're the real ones that I said after the fight, they're fighting the real fight. And for me to be able to put a smile on their face and make them just cheer for me and raise their hands for me and raise the flag because I won it, and be proud to be Palestinian because I won it, and to have the world say like first Palestinian champion, it doesn't get any better than that. For my mom to be able to come and carry the belt and show her family back in Palestine and send it to them and be in the newspaper over there, it was cool. It was epic.
Yeah, that's it. I know that's a title. Listen, man, you're going to retire one day and the career's going to come to an end one day in the future. No one can ever take away you were the first ever Palestinian born first ever Palestinian champion in UFC history. That could never be taken away from you. That is, I don't know if that's the coolest accomplishment, but it's got to be near the top.
Yeah, 100%. And they'll always have that next to their name. They always have their flag next to a world title, a world championship. And it'll never be erased from history, and it's going to be solidified there. And I can't wait to be able to take it back to them, to show them it, and to just keep, spreading the awareness of Palestine, and just keep the name out there, to keep the colors out there, and fly that flag strong.
Absolutely. Real quick, where's the belt at right now? Have you been sleeping with it? Like, where's the belt at right now?
I literally got it right here, right in front of me. I took it to the gym. I just got back from the gym right now, so I went back there, took it back there to the team, had them all touch it. There's so many fingerprints on it, so I got to get it polished up, put it in a case, and nobody's ever touching it again.
I love it. Well, Belal, man, in all sincerity, man, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations again on the win, man. Like I said, I just, you worked so hard for this, man. And like I said, I know like, dude, you texted me back after the fight, and I was like, I can't believe he actually texted me back after the fight. Like, you've already had like 19 million text messages, but I could not text you that night. So that meant a lot, man. I was like, dude, Belal just texted me back, and he's like in the middle of a celebration right now. So I really do appreciate that, man. Obviously, congrats again on the win, man. It couldn't happen to a better person. Enjoy this. I know you're like, I'm already going to get back in the gym and start working, but now that like the whirlwind is ended, at least like enjoy it a little bit, get some good Chicago food, and relish this, man, because if anyone's earned it, you earned it.
My brother, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, like I only responded to the people that were there for me from the start, man. The people that believed in me in the beginning, bro. And you've always been there for me. I appreciate you, brother, man. And thank you guys, man. Thank everyone out there that supports me.
Always, my brother. Appreciate it, Belal. Congrats again. And let me just say it on the closeout. Congrats, champ.
My brother, you're the best.